What can we do with unhelpful thoughts? We can't throw them out into the trash like we get rid of any other unhelpful thing that we don't need. That doesn't work with thoughts. What does work with thoughts is to detach, unstick, disentangle, unhook your focus of attention from a thought so that it doesn't devour your time and energy. This is called cognitive defusion, and this is part 8 of my cognitive defusion course, in which I teach you how to do this. This part of the course is about things that sound very similar to cognitive defusion but are completely different, that I want to, in a way, warn you about to help you understand what cognitive defusion is and what it's not. Sometimes it may sound like cognitive defusion means to suppress a thought, to try to get rid of it, to try to avoid it, or try to force toxic positivity into your mind, or try to neutralize a thought with another thought or compulsive behavior, but none of that is cognitive defusion. So in this part of the course, I want to really dive deeper into this to differentiate cognitive defusion from unhelpful defenses. Hey everyone, welcome to Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and I'm a huge fan of cognitive defusion. I use it myself. I teach it to almost everyone I work with. It's a very powerful way of stepping out of the grip of unhelpful thoughts so they don't dominate you, and you also don't have to waste your energy struggling against them. This allows you to then go on and live the life that you want to live and be the person you want to be. However, because cognitive defusion, detaching from a thought, unsticking from it, disentangling from it, unblending from a thought, is a very subtle thing that happens in the mind, it can easily be misunderstood and then misused as a way of dealing with thoughts that backfires, it doesn't help you, or makes things worse. These unhelpful ways of relating to thoughts are called defenses, and in this video I will explain everything you need to know about that so this doesn't happen to you. Cognitive defusion is not thought suppression. When we notice an unhelpful thought and let it drift by, we take on the attitude of an observer that notices an unhelpful thought but doesn't engage with it beyond that. It's an attitude of noticing unhelpful thoughts with the awareness that they're not always facts, threats, or important pieces of information. This is not thought suppression, which would be treating your mind like a fighting arena and your thoughts as opponents. Your mind is not a fighting arena, and thoughts aren't opponents that we can conquer and make disappear, never to be seen again. Cognitive defusion doesn't enter a struggle against or fight with certain thoughts. Cognitive defusion comes from a fundamental attitude of principally allowing all thoughts, even the ones that we don't like or don't find helpful. Cognitive defusion is not neutralizing. When someone tries to neutralize a shocking, frightening, or negative thought, they try to balance it out with a different positive thought or action. So if you use this strategy whenever you have a negative thought, you will then immediately try to think of something else, something that's positive to you, or you will do something like knocking on wood or taking a shower. What this does, it makes a thought feel more real. You're strengthening the logic of that thought, and it makes the thought come back more frequently. It's a lot more helpful to remind yourself, this is just a thought, not a fact, not a threat, not a prediction. I don't have to neutralize something that's just a thought. And if I were to neutralize it or try to neutralize it, it would just make it all feel and seem more real. Cognitive defusion is not toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is when we try to force our thoughts to be only positive. It's trying to talk yourself into liking something that you don't like, trying to talk yourself into being okay with something that you're not okay with, trying to make yourself believe something that you don't believe. This is another form of fighting against our thoughts, struggling with them. That doesn't work. We can't coerce our minds to only be positive. That's because some negative, unpleasant thoughts and inner signals are signs that we're ready for the next step on our personal growth journey. And other negative thoughts are just unimportant concoctions of the mind that we don't have to pay any attention to. Either way, cognitive diffusion means to notice all these thoughts, allow all these thoughts, see if they're helpful or not, and let the unhelpful ones pass by. Cognitive diffusion is not an attempt at artificial positivity. Cognitive diffusion is not dissociation. When we dissociate, we pull back our engagement with what's going on around us and retreat into our inner world. Our heart rate drops and our body and mind enter into a state of preparing for potential injury in situations that we can't influence. This is, on principle, a natural and healthy mechanism. However, it becomes a problem when we enter it too quickly in situations that aren't dangerous. In those cases, it makes us too passive and unable to be engaged and take necessary action and influence situations. It's important to know that when we defuse from a thought, it doesn't mean that we step back from all active engagement or from being present altogether. Cognitive diffusion is not an inner drifting away. Actually, when we defuse from a thought, it enables us to be more aware, more present, more engaged in a situation, and more connected to other people. Cognitive diffusion is not reassurance. Sometimes we try to deal with an unhelpful thought by reassuring ourselves that everything is okay. For example, if someone has the recurring worry, I hope my spouse is okay, they may try to argue back to that thought and try and reassure themselves by saying things like, well, they were okay this morning. Or they can also try and reassure themselves by picking up the phone and calling their spouse every couple hours to check if they're okay. This is not how cognitive diffusion works. Cognitive diffusion addresses worries at a much more fundamental level. Instead of reassuring yourself that everything is okay, cognitive diffusion reminds you that this is just a thought. I don't need to reassure myself of something that just originated in my own mind and is just made up of the material of thought. I don't have to disprove something that doesn't have a very probable factual basis. This is not a real forecast or fact. It's just a thought. And if I try to disprove it or reassure myself that everything is okay, it'll just make it seem more real. Cognitive diffusion is not absolute certainty. Cognitive diffusion also doesn't mean that you will find absolute certainty about uncertain things. When we use cognitive diffusion, we understand that there are some things that we can't know for certain or with 100% absolute certainty, and that trying to fight against that reality is just a waste of time and energy and creates more anxiety in our bodies. Cognitive diffusion drops that fruitless struggle for absolute certainty and allows you to focus on what you can decide, what you can know, what you can influence, and what you can control. Cognitive diffusion is not willpower. Cognitive diffusion also doesn't have anything to do with mustering enough willpower to drive out an unhelpful or distracting thought. When we respond to an unhelpful thought with willpower, we are acting from the false belief that thoughts can and should be controlled. The truth is that you can have the thought, I don't feel like eating salad today, and still eat salad. Not because you're forcing yourself in an aggressive way, but because that was just a thought, and a thought doesn't decide what your actions will be. A thought is not a decision or an action, so you also don't have to treat it as such by counteracting it, trying to counteract it with willpower. Cognitive defusion is not avoidance. Defusion doesn't mean that we turn away from our problems and stop dealing with them. This is very important. And I've talked about this elaborately in part 5 of the course, which was about the diffusion and unhooking fails, so I won't repeat all of that here. Cognitive defusion is a really helpful tool to have in your toolbox of helpful coping and self-leadership strategies. Stay tuned for the rest of the videos in this course to get really good at it. The whole course will be posted on YouTube. I'm also uploading it onto my Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership e-learning platform. Over there, I'm also uploading lots of extra material, and I post the videos as soon as they're done, which is often before the weekly YouTube schedule. So if you're interested in extra material and early access to the videos, check out the link to the course on that e-learning platform. It's the first link in the description box below this video. Until next time, take care, and remember, a thought is just a thought.